Welcome to the Talkin' Texas Rangers podcast. I'm your host, Larry Lace. On today's episode, we're going to dive into the latest trade news from around Globe Life Field. But first, if you want to support the channel, go ahead, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Just search Talkin' Texas Rangers. But first, before we dive in, we'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor. Are you looking for last-minute tickets to the hottest sports, music, and theater events in over 60 cities? Look no further than Game Time. Their app guarantees the best deals on tickets with seat view photos and clear, competitive pricing. Plus, Game Time guarantee ensures that your ticket will be on time and authentic. Guaranteed. And if you find a lower price elsewhere, they'll make up 110% of the difference. Made for mobile, Game Time is your go-to app for last-minute tickets. Download today and never miss out on an event again. Use the link in the description and you can support the show. And now on to today's first topic. The biggest question all Ranger fans probably have right about now is what stands between the Texas Rangers trading for Shohei Ohtani and extending him. The dream for Texas would be trading for Ohtani and then extending him. Why that is not realistic. The trade deadline is fast approaching. It's just a matter of weeks away. The sellers are starting to be identified. One of those teams is likely the Los Angeles Angels. They are 9 games plus behind the Rangers in the AL West, and they're 5.5 less games back of the last wildcard spot. John Morris, he tweeted this out about the Angels and their star two-way player, Shohei Ohtani, saying, "The Angels are now in a listening mode with Shohei Ohtani. As I reported in the MLB Network segment, suitors must be prepared to offer multiple top 100 type prospects to begin the conversation." Buster Olney was also asked about Ohtani on Get Up on ESPN last week, and he made mention about how Texas would be involved. Jim Bowden of The Athletic has Texas as one of his teams that will be involved in trade talks. I've seen so many conversations on Facebook and Twitter. This is how they normally go. Someone writes a post or a tweet about trading for Ohtani. The next person says, "I am not decimating the farm for a rental." The next person says, "If we can extend him, then I would do that." And it goes back and forth on the extreme cost and what it would take to extend Ohtani. The facts of an Ohtani trade are that it would take a lot to trade him, and you would give the Rangers a better shot to win and advance in October. And the chances of extending him are slim and none. Not for the reasons you might think. So in this segment, I want to go over why extending him is not likely and why it has really nothing to do with Ohtani and more to do with the Angels. Hypothetical trade for Ohtani and extension talks with Texas. We are going to game out on an Ohtani trade. The first step would be Texas and LA agree to a trade prior to August 1st. Say that July 31st they agree to a trade. Players are agreed upon, both teams are happy. Texas then can request a window through the MLB offices in conjunction with the Angels to negotiate an extension with Ohtani. The trade would be tied to an extension being agreed to. The Rangers would then have till the deadline set by the MLB offices to sign Ohtani or the trade would be voided. Again, this is if the Angels accept the trade with enough time left before the deadline to negotiate a new contract. The Angels have no motivation whatsoever to help Texas or any other team negotiate a new contract with Ohtani. Their only motivation should be in making the Angels a more competitive team in the future. If they let teams know Ohtani is available, cannot imagine a trade being agreed to prior to the hours before the deadline. The Angels will be trying to get as much as they can, and other teams will be waiting to see if the Angels' price comes down. There will be a staring contest between the teams involved and the Angels to see who blinks first. The Curt Schilling trade to Boston. A famous example of an exclusive negotiating window being exercised was back in November 2003. The Red Sox and Diamondbacks agreed to a trade to bring Curt Schilling to Boston. Schilling had a no-trade clause and was not going to waive it without signing a contract extension. MLB granted the Red Sox a 72-hour window over the Thanksgiving holidays. They negotiated through that time period, and it nearly did not come together. They had one last session right before the deadline requested, and was granted an extra 24 hours by the MLB offices, and then came to an agreement, and the rest is bloody history. The major difference with this and Ohtani is that the Schilling trade was in the offseason and the deadline was artificial. The August 1st trade deadline is a hard deadline where if everything is not wrapped up and submitted to the offices, then it does not get done. What are the chances Texas lands Ohtani? I'd probably say less than 10%. Chris Young could absolutely put together a good enough offer to get the Angels to say yes. If he put Evan Carter, Sebastian Walcott, Owen White, and Luis Angel Acuna on the table, the Angels would probably say yes. There are two things I do not see happening in these potential trade negotiations. The first is the Angels trading Ohtani within a division. Second, the Angels trading Ohtani across town to the Dodgers. I'd not be surprised if Ohtani ends up in the NL, maybe with Cincinnati, Miami, or even San Francisco. I also think there is a strong possibility that the Angels pursue a trade to send Ohtani out, and their owner, Art Moreno, backs out at the last minute. Moreno this past offseason went through the charade of selling the Angels and took offers, but then before anything could be agreed to, he decided to keep the team. I think he will allow his GM to talk trade and go down that path. I think Moreno, as reported by Ken Rosenthal, is hesitant on being the owner who traded away one of the best players this game has ever seen. Finally, just keep this in mind. Ohtani at this point is not available in trade as reported by Buster Olney, John Morrissey, and Ken Rosenthal. If any team agrees to trade for Ohtani, they do the trade knowing there will very likely be no extension. One, because the Angels are not going to accommodate that. And two, Ohtani will want to go to the market for the first and maybe only time in his career. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Where do you think Ohtani would end up if he will be traded before the deadline? And of course, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button to be notified of future videos. And now we're going to take a dive into the 4 biggest reasons for the 4-game winning streak that the Rangers are currently sitting on. The Rangers have come out of the break red hot and are taking care of business in their first homestand. The Texas Rangers added to their winning streak last night with a walk-off win on a wild pitch from Pete Fairbanks. They've now won 4 in a row, which actually, I should rephrase that. They've won 6 in a row now, thanks to their sweep of the Rays. They have a chance to equal the season-high winning streak of 5 with a win on Tuesday night, which, if you watched and witnessed, they finally achieved that. But we're going to take a look back at what the four biggest reasons are for this winning streak. First off, we have the revival of the starting rotation. The success of this team early in the season was primarily led by the success of the starting rotation and a prolific offense. The rotation was going 6 or 7 innings nearly every night, putting the bullpen in a position to have to pitch only 2 to 3 innings to close out wins. It was a formula that led this team to a 40-20 start. The 12-19 mark leading to the break was primarily because the rotation was no longer going deep into games, and the offense stunk with runners in scoring position. The bullpen pitched much better, but there were not many leads to protect. The reasons for these failures are many, but the main reason appears to be fatigue. The 30 games in 31 days prior to the break obviously wore on these players. The team has come out of the break and is playing refreshed and is once again being led by the rotation. Keep in mind that Nathan Eovaldi has not pitched since the break and started on Tuesday. John Gray went 6 innings, Andrew Heaney pitched 5 1/3, Martin Perez pitched 5 innings, and Dane Dunning on Monday night pitched 7. Each starter has pitched long enough to qualify for the win, and that was not much the case through much of June and into July. Dunning had the best start of any of the starters on Monday night. He gave up 2 early runs on a Randy Arozarena sacrifice fly in the first, and then a home run off the bat of Nathaniel's brother Josh in the second inning. He was lights out after that. He did not give up any more runs in his last 5 innings. He was pitching against Tampa ace Shane McClanahan, who is probably the leading contender for Cy Young Award this season. Dunning's ability to keep Tampa from adding to that lead allowed Texas to eventually take the lead. Number 2, Texas Rangers can win games late. This Texas team has won a lot of games, but one aspect that has really held this team back is their ability to come back and win games late. Prior to Sunday's comeback against the Cleveland Guardians, they had not won when trailing in the 8th inning. They have had come from behind wins, but most of their rallies took place in the middle and not late innings. They have now come from behind late in 3 of the 4 games post All-Star break. Monday night was another come from behind win. They were down 2-0 early, and it stayed that way through the first 5 innings. The offense just kept pushing, and finally, in the 6th against McClanahan, Robbie Grossman led the inning off with a single, and then a slumping Ezekiel Duran stepped to the plate. Just like that, the game was tied. Tampa was 1 inning away from handing off a 2-0 lead to their bullpen. Duran made sure that was not going to hold. It was noted that prior to that at-bat, Duran had been ice cold at the plate. He has 15 strikeouts this month and 0 walks. That included multiple strikeout games, both on Friday and Sunday, against the Guardians. He needed that home run to pick himself back up and hopefully get back on the right track. Duran's home run is just another player coming through with a timely hit. The Rangers, since the break, have been much better with the runners in scoring position. They are 12-33 in that situation, which is good for a .364 batting average. That is more in line with the success they had through May. Duran was not the only one with a timely hit. Josh Jung in the 9th led off with a hard-hit double that went right past Jose Siri in center field. Nathaniel Lowe came up and moved him to third on a ground ball to the second baseman. That put pinch runner Josh Smith at third, with 2 outs and Mitch Garver at the plate against former Ranger Pete Fairbanks. In this situation, Garver would not be required to swing the bat to win the game. If Lowe does not move Smith over with that ground ball, then Josh Smith would not have been in position to score. The Rangers did what they needed to do and won the game. Their ability to win this game was not all because of the offense. Next up, we got to address the Texas Rangers and their dominant bullpen. The bullpen since the break has been lights out in every game. They have now, in 12 2/3 innings since the break, and have only given up 2 runs. Both runs were allowed by Cody Bradford on Sunday when he gave up a 2-run home run to David Fry. Bochy has been expertly using both Will Smith and Aroldis Chapman in late inning roles. Jose Leclerc has also pitched very well. Monday night, Will Smith was unavailable after pitching in all 3 games against the Guardians. Dunning pitched 7 innings, and then Bochy turned to Leclerc first for the 8th in a tie game, and he pitched a scoreless 8th with 1 strikeout. Then in the 9th, it was Chapman's turn, and he was electric. That was the best outing for Chapman since being traded to Texas. Chapman struck out the sides on 14 pitches and had 9 strikes. The Rays only made contact on 2 of Chapman's 14 pitches, and they were both foul balls. He threw a 103-mile-per-hour fastball to strike out Siri. This bullpen, after having a rough go in late April and early May, and then struggling again in July, is back on the right track. And that is even after Josh Sborz was placed on the IL last Friday prior to the start of the series against the Guardians. Excuse me. The bullpen is in a much more solid place with Chapman than they were before he arrived. He has been as advertised for this team and will be a game changer as this team moves into the pennant race in August and September. This team would not be in this position, but for one more factor. But before we dive into that, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. How do you think the Rangers have been performing post-All-Star break? Let us know. Texas Rangers and their solid defense. I addressed this section knowing about the incidents with Crane Anderson and Martin Perez failing to get to first on time on Saturday and Sunday. The defense has been solid. Josh Young and Nathaniel Lowe are holding down the corners. Simeon and Seager the middle, and Jankowski, Tavares, and Garcia in the outfield. They are all making the hard plays and the routine plays. Josh Young had one of the better plays of the post-All-Star break in Monday's game. They are making the plays they need to make and not botching plays that lead to losses. That was not always the case in 2022. It has become so routine that they play good defense that when a pitcher fails to cover first in time, it really does stand out. There has been very little to complain about the defense this season, and that has continued with this 4-game winning streak. The Rangers have been playing much better in all facets of the game, and that is why they are still in first place in the AL. or in the AL West, I should say, and are increasing their lead over the Houston Astros. The challenge does not get easier as the team still has 2 more games does not get any easier after their sweep of the Rays, as they have 3 against the Dodgers, 3 in Houston, and 3 in San Diego to wrap up this difficult stretch, leading to the August 1st trade deadline. Are the Rangers in Pittsburgh in trade talks? Let's talk about it. An MLB Network analyst, has thrown out a rumor surrounding the Rangers and the Pirates. The trade rumors are heating up as we near the deadline, and JP Morrissey of MLB Network threw out a couple of tweets previously. This was back in, June 26th, so about a month ago, with a confirmed rumor that linked Pittsburgh and Texas on trade talks, saying, quote, confirming the Rangers have broached the possibility of acquiring Andrew McCutchen, but the Pirates are not prepared to move yet. The deal would have particular interest to Texas if at least one of the pitchers is part of the deal as well. Andrew McCutchen is on my list of outfielders I would want to see the Rangers sign in the offseason. He's not the MVP Kutch that he was for Pittsburgh earlier in his career, but he's a solid veteran presence in the lineup and in the clubhouse. He also did play for Bruce Bochy in San Francisco, and McCutchen has been primarily playing DH for Pittsburgh and would continue that in Texas. McCutchen is hitting .271 with an .825 OPS. He has 9 home runs and 24 RBIs with 9 stolen bases. The most valuable piece to the trade is the pitcher that Texas would acquire in this trade. Morrissey did not identify the pitcher Texas would want, but ideally it would be David Bednar. He has 15 saves, a 1.5 ERA, 34 strikeouts, and 30 innings. He would immediately make the Rangers' bullpen significantly better because he would allow Will Smith to move into a more flexible role and give the Rangers a dominant closer they need to make a run in October. He also comes with years of control. The 28-year-old reliever will not be a free agent until after the 2026 season. The cost and prospects to get McCutchen and Bednar would likely be significant, but not prohibitive. Excuse me. I would imagine that it would be 3 to 4 prospects. I think the Pirates are going to want prospects that are not years away. They are trying to exit this rebuild soon. It would have to be players on a similar timeline to these top draft picks that have been making the last 2 to 3 seasons. The Pirates just recently promoted Henry Davis, their 2021 first-round pick, to the majors. Shortstop O'Neal Cruz will be back healthy later this season, and they have a young ace in Mitch Keller. They have the foundations of a good team in the future. They just need more depth. Texas and Pittsburgh match up well in this situation because of the Rangers' prospect depth in the upper minors. Players like Justin Foscue, Dustin Harris, and a pitcher might be able to get it done. So keep an eye on these teams as we go into the end of the trade season. There have been conversations, as confirmed by JP Morrissey, and will likely continue to the end of the trade deadline. If the Pirates decide to punt on 2023, discussions could be continued in the offseason. And now on to our next topic. We're going to dive into some of the best and worst trade deadline deals since the 2000s. The Rangers are no strangers when it comes to the MLB trade deadline, so we're going to talk about some of their worst and best deals of the century. Last month, the Texas Rangers made the first splash of the season by trading for 7-time All-Star Aroldis Chapman. This is a move that has seemed to pay off as the team's new co-closer has been dominant in his past 5 appearances. On Saturday, the 2019 AL Reliever of the Year recorded his first official save with Texas. It was his franchise record 103-mile-per-hour fastball that helped seal the deal. Now, with the trade deadline just a week away, the Rangers could be looking to add more depth to an already contending roster. Excuse me. There is no doubt that things could be heating up in Texas, but before we continue to examine possible trade candidates for the Rangers, let's take a look at some of the past trades, starting off with the best 2007 trade of Mark Teixeira. In 2001, the Rangers used their first-round pick to select infielder Mark Teixeira. During his tenure in Texas, he made one All-Star appearance, won the Silver Slugger Award twice, and was presented with 2 Gold Glove awards. The biggest impact, though, came after the Rangers traded him. On July 31st, 2007, Texas traded Teixeira to the Braves for catcher Jared Saltamacchia and 4 prospects that included Elvis Andrus and Naphtali Feliz. Andrus and Feliz became key parts of Rangers history as they played major roles in helping the team reach the 2010 and 2011 World Series. Worst, the shipment of Yu Darvish. Darvish became an integral part of Texas Rangers history. In 5 seasons, he became the team's dominating ace, helping Texas reach the playoffs in 2016. Seen as the corner piece of the future, he made 3 All-Star appearances for Texas and was the 2013 AL strikeout leader. However, with Darvish set to hit free agency in 2017, the team decided to pull the plug on the experiment. On July 31st, Texas shipped their ace to the Dodgers for prospects Willie Calhoun, A.J. Alexy, and Brendan Davis. This proved to be a crucial mistake as later that season, Darvish helped lead the Dodgers to the 2017 World Series. On the other hand, Texas got a couple of good seasons from Calhoun before injuries and inconsistent play began to add up. Next, for best, we have the overhaul for Cole Hamels. Another trade that worked in favor for the Rangers was the acquisition of Cole Hamels. In a desperation move, Texas sent Matt Harrison, Nick Williams, George Farrow, Jake Thompson, Alec Asher, and Jared Akoff to the Phillies for Hamels. This proved to work in Texas's favor as they sat 2 games under .500 before trading for Hamels. After his arrival, the team won the 2015 AL West crown and made back-to-back playoff appearances. In 4 seasons, he posted a 24-21 record and posted a .657 winning percentage. While his stay was short-lived, he made a key impact in helping the team become contenders once again. Worst is the arrival of Matt Garza. On July 22, 2013, the Rangers looked to add to their bullpen as they traded for Chicago Cubs pitcher Matt Garza. The 2008 ALCS MVP proved to be the opposite of what Texas needed. In half a season, he posted a 4-5 record. He pitched in 13 games, throwing just under 84.1 innings, while recording a .438 ERA. While Texas did not give up much in return for Garza, 2 of the players they traded away went on to be crowned 2016 World Series champions. Pitchers Justin Grimm and Carl Edwards Jr. became major components of the Cubs' 2016 playoff bullpen. Garza would go on to pitch his final game for Texas on September 26, 2013, as he signed with the Brewers the year after. And next up, the AA prospect who became a Texas great. During the 2000 season, the Texas Rangers were beginning to fall apart. The season before, Texas had just won the 99 AL West Division. The 99 offseason saw owner Tom Hicks and GM Doug Melvin trade away 2-time MVP Juan Gonzalez. With things going downhill, Texas traded away pitcher Esteban Loaiza for prospects Darwin Kubalan and Michael Young. While this wasn't a big trade deadline deal, it was one that made a huge impact on the franchise. In 12 seasons with Texas, Young made 7 All-Star appearances and was named the 2005 AL batting champion. He led the franchise in a variety of categories, including games played, runs scored, and hits. And finally, worse, bringing in Koji Uehara. A year after their 2010 World Series appearance, the Texas Rangers were looking for bullpen help. On July 30th, 2011, the team traded Chris Davis and Tommy Hunter to the Baltimore Orioles for Japanese pitcher Koji Uehara. In 2 seasons with Texas, he struggled to find consistency. In his first 3 appearances, he posted a 1-2 record with a 4.0 ERA. A year later, injuries took the best of it as he was out for some time with a strained lateral muscle. As for Davis, he became a hitting machine for the Orioles. In 1 season alone, he recorded 53 home runs, 138 RBIs. Davis's presence would have been helpful as Texas failed to make the playoffs between 2013 and 2014. With the MLB trade deadline fast approaching, it's safe to say the Texas Rangers have had their share of surprises. There were so many other trades that I didn't discuss, including the acquisitions and departures of Josh Hamilton, Adolis Garcia, Cliff Lee, and Alex Rodriguez that occurred during the offseason or well before the trade deadline. I wanted to focus on trades strictly near or around the trade deadline. With 2 weeks to make a move, could the Rangers add another trade moment to this list? We'll have to wait and find out. Is there a trade we should have mentioned? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and let us know if it was the best or worst move that the Rangers made for the trade deadline. As always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Just search Talkin' Texas Rangers. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you like our videos. And if you want a financially sports channel, go ahead and go to buymeacoffee.com/TTRangers. Your support helps the channel grow, upgrade our equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and hopefully one day take this show on the road. We'd love to be able to live stream from a Texas Rangers game, both at Globe Life Field or in spring training facilities. And as always, thank you so much for watching and listening. Of course, we will see you next time.